Okay, Alita Army. Welcome to the Alita live stream of May the 13th, 2022. What characters do we want in a sequel or series? Where we discuss all things to do with the movie Alita Battle Angel, the source manga Gundam, and the greatly desired sequels. I am your host, the Muskogee Creek from Denver, Colorado. And our co host Angelus has not shown up yet, nor has any of the guests. And this is the way it normally goes on this stream, I think. Very chaotic. So, and since there's only three of you out there, so we can still carry on just like we had good sense, as they would say. So, today we kind of did a stream like this early last year, but I'm gonna kind of do a couple of little changes to it. And since we've had in the recent past, we've had some pretty positive news and some inspiration from Rosa, and we had El Lamont on Radio Chaos last week. I thought it would be great, to kind of go back into a sequel and a series, because that's what the actors on in Alita, what they want. That's what certainly what James Cameron wants. That's also what Robert Rodriguez wants, and that's also what Rosa Salazar wants. So, and that's what we want. So, just thought we would go into that and just kind of try to keep the ball rolling and talk about Alita. So, anybody, and hello, bonjour, David Alexander. How are you doing, my friend? It's good to see you out there. And I think, David, I think you're in France, if I'm not mistaken. So anyway, but if anybody wants to, if you want to join in, you want to come on the stream, I put a link in the chat. So all you got to do is click on it, and I'll get you into the stream, and we can talk about Alita. So I don't know what the weather is where you are, but I know here it's pretty nice. I mean, not a cloud in the sky in Denver, Colorado, and it's in the 70s, I think, which is just nice, warm day. Got a chance to walk my dog and all that stuff, but you don't get to do that often when in the wintertime here. So that's kind of the way it is here at Denver. I think Do Not Stand By is another one that's going to invited to join us on the stream. And hello, Hybrid. How's it going, my friend? So it looks like you're there for the Alita Army also. So that's cool. Okay, I guess we'll go ahead and get started. We don't need guests. The Creek can run his mouth about Alita without any guests, and I can run my mouth for a very long time. So I guess one of the things that we'll do first is I'm going to put some of the characters up there that we know that we all want. I mean, that's pretty obvious. We've talked about this on several other streams too. And yes, Ash Blackwind, Ed Skrein is a definite. We want him in there for sure. So I got something coming up on him too. So we're going to chat about him for sure. But we're going to talk about all the characters that we know definitely that we want in the sequel. And then we're going to talk about some other characters that we can discuss, maybe just sort of, kind of figure out, maybe some of us are a little iffy on some of them. Some may want some of the characters, others may not. And we're going to talk a little bit about not just movie characters. We're also going to talk about manga characters too. And of course, that would also include the anime. So, we just kind of want to get our voices heard. Hopefully, if Disney ever gets wind of what we want, then of course they will know what characters we want and that sort of thing. Okay, so like I say, if anybody wants to jump on the stream, there's the link in the chat. All you got to do is click on it, and we'll be ready to go. Alita, you think? Yeah, we definitely want Alita in the series, because it wouldn't be much of a series or a sequel without Alita, obviously. But I guess the big question is, and I guess later on we're going to be talking about what storylines we also want to see, because I think everyone on this stream knows how I feel. I don't want just a sequel. I want several movies. I want a series. I want an anime. I want to see more manga, and I want merch. So that's kind of where we are with that one. And definitely Alita is a big factor in that. That's why she's number one. But I guess you folks in the chat can tell me this. Which body do you think you would like to see Alita in? I know the Creek wants to see Alita in her Imaginos body. Now that wouldn't happen in the next movie or the next series, I don't think, because it's be a little bit too soon for that. But as everybody on this stream knows, that the Imaginos 2.1 body is my favorite body. So uh, that would probably come after maybe a fourth or fifth movie, perhaps. And yeah, we dare to dream of five movies, but yeah, hopefully we might get that many if we're lucky. So, uh, but I guess one body that would actually that we would want to see Alita in would be the tuned body, and that and the motorball body. Those two bodies, I guess, would be the body we'd want to see in the next movie. And we just had join us from Brisbane and Queensland, Australia. Angelus, how's it going? Good day, mate.
Okay, hey fellas.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, we just started, Angela. So there's no big deal. We haven't missed much. So I'd be running my mouth, perhaps.
I don't
So
know if we've addressed this topic before, but I just had an epiphany for
oh,
next week's topic.
oh,
Uh, Fan casts, because that's something that both the panel, as in you and me, and whoever else decides to join us, excuse me for a second, as well as the live chat itself, can sort of join in on. And the fan cast can extend to those that have already been cast, like
mhm.
Chirin or Ito, even though, as the old saying goes, why fix something that isn't broken? But, it's always fun to imagine, like what other actors could have played in any other role, whether it
Yeah,
be Hugo or Tanji or whatever. But like the meat or the bulk of the next week's topic can be like, who would we want to play Chaos? Who would we want to play Figure Four? Who would we want to play,
cool.
or not necessarily play, but voice Den, because he's pretty much going to be CGI. Let's face it.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. Well, I tell you what, Angelus, you just set a record for this stream. We coming up with a topic, the earliest of all time. So, so, that's what we'll do next week. We'll have a fan cast. It'll be an extension of this one where we'll talk about, who we want to play. Like you say, who we want to play the various characters, and we can kind of canvas the chat for that. And the chat can tell us, I want so and so to play figure four. I want somebody else to play who knows what. Now, probably we would be somewhat limited on the characters that have already been in the movie, you know. But we could even entertain changes there too, just in case, one of the actors can't show up or something like that. So, but that's a great idea, Angelus. Holy mackerel. We don't have to worry a lot about, trying to come up with a topic, because I know a Radio Chaos, that is something Maxie worries about a lot, about the different, coming up with a topic. Yeah, hybrid, guten Morgen, wie geht es dir heute? So, um, but yeah, that's great. I think let's do it. So I made a note. We'll do fan cast next week. So that's
And
cool.
just as a bit of a segue back into the main topic here, uh, we'll still be able to draw upon or touch on characters that we would like to see in the sequel or series,
Yeah,
because we also have to take into account the fact that while it is it is an adaptation of our favorite manga, it's still changed just a little bit. Obviously, one of the big changes being the introduction of the Technarchy to the
Yeah,
law of Alita. But I mean, in a sense, the government on Mars wasn't really given a name per se, except that
yeah,
it existed. And if I'm not mistaken, it wasn't Princess Lymeria like the
yeah,
royalty of Mars?
yeah. She was the queen, I guess, and I guess the only I guess
Queen.
any kind of organized anything on Mars would be just the United Republics of Mars. But yeah, you wouldn't. It's not. It wouldn't be like a country like Australia, has 5 states and 2 territories, or the U.S.,
Mm.
who has 50 states and 6 territories and stuff like that. It's not anything near that organized. So it's just kind of a loose confederation of different, states on Mars. So that's a good point, I guess.
But yeah, even despite the fact that the movie itself does ever so slightly differ, the level of that difference can be debated. But the fact that it is different in some way, shape, or form doesn't mean that we still can't speculate what we'd want to see, or as per today's topic, who we would want to see.
Yeah.
Because without spoiling too much, obviously Gelder's a shoe-in for sure.
Yes.
But as we all know, there are a few more counselors that are.
Oh, I think I left Gelda out of the presentation here, so let's make a mental note to
Mama,
include her. Holy crap!
mama.
Yeah, I definitely want to see Gelda. That's for sure. I want to see Michelle Rodriguez in that. I mean, yeah, she's great.
In fact, let's touch upon that right now, in the context that I would actually love to see, not just a flashback, but an actual battle involving Gelda and anyone else, really. Like similar to what we'd see in the alleyway fight, in the underworld fight, all of that.
Yeah,
And save the big like face-offs for Alita.
yeah,
Like Alita versus, I don't know, Den, or Alita versus Erica,
yeah,
or maybe one of the AI units if they introduce that into the movie.
yeah.
but
One of the neat. Oh, go ahead.
yeah, I was just going to finish off by saying definitely like some form of skirmish, or even like an extended sparring session with Gilda at the very least
Yeah,
is what
but
I'd
you know
like.
what? I tell you what I'd like to see. There's that there's that panel in the Mars Chronicles, or actually it's more than one panel. I think it was like 3 or something like that, where that squad of soldiers tried to make Alita and Erica walk across that minefield, and Gelda shows up and takes them all out by herself. I would love to see that,
Oh,
in whether a series or in a
oh,
sequel to the
yes.
flashback or whatever. That'd be a great scene, I think.
Another segue into another character we could see in the sequel, Chibi Alita,
Okay, yeah, I don't have her in here, of course, but yeah, I mean, sure.
or
And
Baby Alita.
yeah, baby Alita for sure. Yeah, I'd love to see that. I guess Maxie, who said he might make it today, by the way. Uh, Maxie, the motorball body is his favorite body. So, I do think that probably since the movie ended with Alita in her motorball body, I think it's almost a dead giveaway bet, or a 100% winning bet, that you will see her in the sequel in a motorball body. Now, just like the movie, she might be in more than one body. She might be in the civilian body. She might be toward the end of the movie, get in the tuned body or whatever. But yeah, I guarantee you will. If when there's a sequel, we're going to see that motorball body, because
I
they
have
put a
no
lot
doubt as
into that.
well. because even from a like a, for lack of a better term, financial point of view,
Yeah.
like it just cost too much in terms of maintenance, repairs, and just like buffing out the wear and tear if she just like continuously used it in like civilian use.
Yeah, I think too that if we get that scene, what we also want to see, of course, I'm going to have the storylines are going to be toward the end of the stream here, but heck, we're wide open here. We can talk about anything whenever we want. But uh, when we get that scene where she sings in the Kansas bar, that would be great. I mean, I'd love to. Those are the two scenes I'd like to see most. Would be Gelda, fighting that squad of, I guess those soldiers are from Earth, I guess, and then Alita singing in the Kansas bar in her civilian body.
Hey, let's get a cameo from Rob Rod playing as one of the band members.
Oh yeah, he could. Well, he plays guitar. He's pretty good too. From just a couple of the shorts I've seen where he, plays. I guess he has a. Well, he's probably got all kind of guitars, but he was playing an acoustic guitar, and he was pretty good. So yeah, he could.
And
He
like
could
playing
definitely be.
alongside little
Yeah,
Grogu.
yeah, for sure. But yeah, I would definitely like to see Alita. In the civilian body for sure in the Kansas bar. And I hope they make it now. Hopefully, when she's when she's in the Kansas bar, and this is going to be some time is going to have passed, since that she, I guess since she lost Hugo and stuff like that, and she would probably start out in the civilian body, playing motorball through the second league if they don't put that in a series. But I think what I would like to see rather is them make that civilian body look really sexy. That'd be pretty cool. I think make Alita look really pretty. Well, she's pretty anyway. But anyway, but have her look really really nice. So in that civilian body, singing and playing keyboards.
Well, you never know if if she, like I said, they don't have to necessarily stick to the manga panel for panel, but you could still have like an epic showdown with Jashugan, and
Yeah.
in this instance, he could live but have his like quote unquote motorball body severely damaged, and he'd be in a civilian body. I
Yeah.
mean, we see many of the other hunter warriors and like the factory team in Alita's tryouts were like all sorts of people, and like all of them had different bodies.
Yeah.
Like the I forget the actor's name now. I want to kick myself because she mentioned it last week, but the dude that played the other hunter warrior that L or Screwhead was fighting, he ended
Oh
up having
yeah.
like wheels on his legs, and he was like hunched down, like a bit
That
of a
was yeah, that you mean you got to play gangsta, you mean?
gangster. That's the one, yeah.
Yeah, Patrick Gathon, I think is his name.
Yes, and like
Yeah.
his motorball body was like quite different from his civilian body. So who
Yeah.
knows if we don't see like Josh Gunn in a civilian body, like congratulating Alita on her winning final champion or something, and then they're like all singing karaoke, and you got Rob Robin back. The possibilities are endless. They could completely go in a different direction and still have Alita reach Zone somehow.
Well, if they're gonna do like a motorball arc, and they're gonna do the arc where she's now, they could probably merge the two where she sings in the Kansas bar and plays motorball. They could merge those two, but if if they're going to kind of put multiple arcs in it, it's probably going to have to be a 3-hour movie, or at least 2.5 hours, because we saw what happened when it got whittled down to 2 hours. And basically, they had the Hugo arc, didn't they? Now, they did have the arc with her in the doll body and in the Berserker body, but that was basically the Hugo arc that we saw, in the movie. So yeah, I think, and it was 2 hours, and we all of us got the feeling that wasn't long enough. I know I would have liked to seen. It's like Maxie put it last week. There was a lot of, I guess, context that was left out. Between some of the arc segments that would have explained a little better, or the audience would got a little bit better sense of the overall flow of the story, had they made it a little longer, but they didn't. They had to whittle it down to 2 hours. So, or 2 hours, 1 minute, and 59 seconds, I think is what it was. 2 hours and 2 minutes. So, I just think that, if they're going to do a couple of arcs, they're going to have a longer movie. They're not going to be able to get away with just a 2-hour movie if they have 2 or even 3 arcs. That's not going to be long enough. It's going to be choppy, and it's going to be very. I mean, we'll all love to see it, and we'd probably all see that one 100 times, but we would be a little disappointed that we didn't get enough story of Alita and the people that are in the characters if they tried that again.
Oh, sorry, my mind's just gone off on a complete tangent on the sheer amount of possibilities of things that could happen in the sequel, and it can loosely connect it back to the topic, but I mean,
Well,
just
go ahead.
like for example, when Grishka pierced her like side abdomen, that claw, after she chopped it off eventually,
Mm-hmm.
you could have like residual nanobots. I don't know, perhaps even rebuild Grishka. I don't think they would, because they should sort of keep his character dead. But because Vector's character doesn't die, it could mix up with his blood and possibly resurrect him, albeit under full control of Nova. Or perhaps in the aftermath of like cleaning up Vector's mess, you could have Nova come down and notice Garushka's finger, if you will, and bring that back for study of Alita's Berserker cells. And then that's perhaps how the Japan gets like a pseudo Berserker body, and then next is sort of vengeance in Fallen Angel.
Yeah. Well, I know. Go ahead.
And like depending on how much they want to stretch it for time, or how much they want to condense it for time, they could have it shortly after her celebrations, or perhaps during her celebrations at the cancer spa. And it's like, damn, that thing just doesn't catch a break, does it? It's always getting wrecked one way or another.
That's right. That's right. You mentioned that there was. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just going to joke. Can you imagine the insurance on that thing?
Yeah, millions and millions of credits is what that would be. Yeah, but I was about to say, that that I guess Alita's Berserker cells. You mentioned them a while ago. I know Odd John Hoots always used to say that even though it's not in the manga, he feels like they just about have to get Alita back in her Berserker body in the sequel. And I guess my thought is, I mean, I understand that thought, but I know in the manga, certainly Japan gets that Berserker body, because that thing configures itself to the self-image of the individual that's embodied in it, But I think in that case, to Odd John's point, is that we would not only get to see Alita in her berserker body again, but we would get to see Zerkerpan too, and those two fighting it out in both in berserker bodies. That would be an awesome fight, I think. You know, I uh, it would be a fight similar to what they had in the manga, except in the manga, of course, Alita only had her civilian body. Was that her civilian body or a motorball body she fought in Japan in? I think it was a civilian body, wasn't it?
Well, she was in the doll body in the Kansas part, right? And then
Yeah,
obviously
well,
shortly
but I
after.
mean when Japan got the berserker body, and he went on a rampage and destroyed half of Iron City. Uh, because you remember he went crazy because he killed Sarah. You remember, and he got that
Oh
berserker
yeah, that's
body, and it made him a
civilian.
monster. You know.
Yeah, that I'm confident that's a civilian body.
Yeah, I think it is too. Although something thought made me think it might have been the motorball body, but she actually ends up playing motorball after that. I think I don't know when. By the way, have you started reading the manga again, Angelus?
Yep, I'm up to the second one now.
Oh, cool. You upset? Well, I think have you got to the point where she's gone down into the jumped down to fight Makaku yet? Or are you on the
Uh,
second book in the book set or the second chapter?
like hang on, let me open it back up because I've completed like the whole first one.
Oh, the
So
whole first book? The whole
yeah,
first book? Oh, holy crap. I was waiting on you because hell, I'm way back at the beginning of the first book. I might like where she's about to fight Makaku, where she goes after Koyomi and
well, that's not
Fang.
too far. That's not too far behind.
Yeah, not too far, but I got some catching up to do, but that's okay. I can do that. So anyway, so yeah, I got confused. I guess when you said the second book, I thought you meant second chapter, or something
Yeah,
like that. So
but
anyway, yeah, I guess. Oh, go ahead.
yeah, I was just gonna say like perhaps obviously the doll body is destroyed, and that
Mm-hmm.
means that the only two bodies that she has access to movie wise is Berserker
Mm-hmm.
and Motorball. Now to keep to standard Motorball rules, if there is such a thing in the law, she'd have Motorball body for Motorball matches only. So what
Yeah.
else would she continually wear now? Like, would they keep the aspect of her not wanting to wear the Berserker body and just have Doc Ito redesign another one completely? Because I mean, he did build the doll body after all.
Mm-hmm.
Or do they? Does she keep the Berserker body and you know, like so? What happened to the doll body prior doesn't ever happen again
Yeah.
because she's got the power of the Berserker.
Yeah.
And from for lack of a better term, from a metaphysical point of view,
Yeah.
you could say that she just keeps wearing the Berserker body because A, we get to see it again, of course,
Mm-hmm.
and B, despite that manga reference, it's probably also cheaper from a production point of view because they've already got the model for
Model.
it
Yeah. Yeah.
in terms of motion capture. So
Yeah. That's
again,
right.
why waste materials? I guess.
Yeah. Well, I think my main thing about her being in the berserker body, which I could see it. I mean, I do want them to be faithful to the manga, but you're right; they don't have to stick to it letter for letter. My biggest, what I would think would be the coolest thing ever, is her in a berserker body and Zapan in a berserker body fighting each other. That would be really epic. I think. I think because you'd have two cyborgs, that are, many years advanced in technology over anything on Earth fighting each other, and I think that'd be to me it'd be awesome.
And similar to the Gruishka fight in the sense that he got an upgrade and totally demolished a leader in the underground fight. You know, if she goes head to head against Japan, who's, you know, he's not just as more or less as deadly as Gruishka, but he's a trained, or not trained, but experienced bounty hunter with the power, or at least the equivalent power of a berserker body, going up
Mhm.
against a leader. So all of a sudden, she's not the like the she never was, but I'm just going to use this term loosely. But she's not the Mary Sue anymore of cyborg
Mhm.
bodies. Like all of a sudden, she's, there's always bigger fish, and she has to constantly deal with that, and people wanting to bring her down, no matter how weak or how powerful she is.
Yeah, I think that whole thing about her being a Mary Sue, I think probably half those hunter warriors in the Kansas Bar didn't have much respect for her, and they just thought. You remember Zapan called her Cupcake, and everybody kind of laughed at it.
I
Uh,
bet they do now have
yeah,
respect for her.
yeah. Oh, looks like Maxie's out in the chat. He said he might be able to make it, David. Looks like he's out in the chat, so he's on the road actually. So he's probably yard sailing. So so that's the way it goes, I guess. That's cool.
A happy waifu is a happy lifeu.
I guess so. Like, yeah, I know how that is. So yeah, for sure. But yeah, I think Alita, in that next movie, definitely we got to see her in the motorball body. We got to now. Here's the problem: if you get her in three different bodies like that, and you're going to have to spend a significant amount of time in each one, that's going to make that body. I mean, that sequel going to have to be longer. It's just got to be. They cannot squeeze her into three separate kind of arcs or storylines in three different bodies, and hope to get that done in 2 hours. That's just not going to happen. I mean, it's just there won't be enough time spent, developing the story and stuff like that. I mean, they just, they'd be advised not to do that. If they're going to do three bodies, then they need at least 2.5 hours and maybe three, to do that.
If that was a stipulation in Disney's contract, if you want to call it that, as good as Cameron is, you'd
Mm,
have to have Rodriguez on board in some fashion, because it's the formula that he created that got it down to the 2 hours and still, churned out the quality that is
yeah.
what we got. Um, that being said, I'm definitely not opposed to a Cameron directed sequel. I mean, he's pretty much the maestro when it comes to making the moolah of sequels, especially.
Yeah.
Terminator 2, Aliens. His
Yeah. Yeah.
list just
Yeah.
goes on. Avatar 2. It's going to be the first one to
Oh
break
man.
3 billion.
Oh man, that damn thing. Have you've seen the trailer, no doubt. The way of water or something like that.
Yep.
Man, that thing there looks awesome. I mean, that is going to be a great movie. I can't wait for that sucker to come out. So yeah, that's going to be super duper.
Just on that as well, and it's something that can tie back to Alita and us as a fandom. There's already hit pieces and naysays out there. So to all the Alita army that's in live chat, and to those that are
Mm-hmm.
listening on the playback,
Mm-hmm.
it's not going to be easy, and I'm not going to berate anyone for speaking their mind. But at the same time, something I tweeted out earlier, there was one particular tweet where someone said, CGI is the death of cinema, and
Yeah.
I basically countered with my own tweet of, uh, it's my opinion that you're incorrect, and here's my reasoning behind it.
Mm-hmm.
Is that it not only like like makes cinema like it's. He's not only wrong, but the CGI like makes that window or door between our imagination and the cinema screen a lot bigger.
Mhm.
What we can see in a movie or whatever is just made all the more possible through CGI.
Mhm.
You know, and I use the very early example of the fact that Terminator, the Terminator franchise was born from a dream, or
Mhm.
more likely a nightmare actually,
Mhm.
that Cameron had.
Mhm.
And just as a little bit of info before we get back onto the main topic here, the the nightmare that Cameron had was actually of Terminator 2. And he imagined like just like a standard robot, aka T800, going up against the T1000, except the
Mhm.
technology was so far like behind that it just wasn't possible until Cameron made the movie that's called The Abyss.
Mhm.
And then after that, he basically refined that, and we got what we now know as Terminator 2 Judgment Day.
Mhm.
So in the meantime, he set the precedent and created Terminator 1 instead. And that, well, that's just history in the making. And
Yeah.
obviously, ever since then, Cameron's just been pushing the envelope, and we've gone from Terminator 1 to Avatar 2. You
Yes.
know, I shudder to think what we'll be looking at in 20, 30, 50 years' time. And that's, you know, with all respect, Cameron might not be around by then, but that's a legacy that he's left behind. So
Yeah.
how can anyone say that that isn't cinema? So bringing it back to my initial topic, those hit pieces are going to be, they're already out for Avatar 2. And
Mhm.
let's face it, it's 99% certain that we will get an Alita sequel. It's just a matter of when and not if.
Yeah.
And the same thing's going to happen with that as well. They'll find they'll either find something new to attack or redig up old arguments. And you just have to, a wise man once said, "Cough, Uriel, cough," is just to, um, to burn them with the truth, so to speak, as he said. And
Yeah.
that's great advice.
Well, and to the point about CGI too. I mean, look at Alita's face there. I mean, really? I mean, yeah, her eyes are different. There's no doubt about that. I think her eyes are beautiful, but it doesn't. That's my opinion. But I'm not just talking about whether her eyes are weird or not. But look at her face and her hair. That looks like a person. That the only thing they CGI'd was her eyes. But no, they have CGI'd. Look at her hair. I mean, that is not real hair, but it sure as hell looks like real hair, doesn't it? So, I mean, and here's another thing about the haters too. I mean, I came on, I got in the elite army a little bit after after I guess I got on the tail end of all those battles you guys had, back in early 2020. But um, these same people will just laud praise on like Marvel movies where they like CGI characters like Thanos, which I think is great. I think Thanos is great. Nebula, Gamora. Although Gamora, I guess, was more of a makeup type thing. Although she had CGI too. But I think but you look at her, she looks like a person. That's how good the technology's gotten. That Cameron came up with this stuff. You know, Before I go much further, let me welcome Do Not Stand By. How's it going up there in Arvada? Do Not Stand By.
Hi, Creek. I'm feeling a lot better. I had a bad cold the last couple of weeks, and finally this week I'm feeling much better. So I haven't been around for a while.
You didn't get that nasty COVID, did you?
No, I didn't. Yeah, I'm fortunate, but it still hit me pretty hard. It's been a few years since I had a bad cold.
Wow. Well, we're still on Alita. We haven't moved off. Of course, everyone on this stream, the three of us, and even the folks in the chat, we could talk about Alita by herself for like what 8 hours without stopping. We could do it. For sure. It's like last week. Remember when Elle was on? We were talking about how long she's going to be with us as long as we'd have her. And we all just laughed about it. And I said, don't worry, Elle, it's not going to be 6 hours. So, but with Alita, we could talk about Alita for 6 or 8 hours or 10 hours, couldn't we? I mean, we could do it. There's no doubt about that. I know I could do it. So yeah.
But yes, I guess to sum up, definitely, and I wouldn't actually mind seeing like a rollerball length, a rollerball match length of motorball, even just a sort of thing with the motorball body.
Yeah.
I'd love to see the berserker body again. And because the tuned body is, there's not too much of a difference in the manga wise anyway. Like in aesthetics wise, there's not a huge difference between tuned and civilian or doll body. So I guess you could get away with just reusing the berserker body in those sort of homages, if you will. So definitely berserker, definitely motorball, and if the cyborg gods are blessing us on that day, then perhaps even maybe a cameo of Maginus.
Yeah, I don't know. That'd be a stretch, I think, because you got to go through the tuned arc, to get to it, I guess. But that'd be great. I mean, I definitely want to see the Imaginos 2. Well, you got 3 different bodies. I'm not sure they would do that in the movie. Where they'd have Imaginos 1.0, Imaginos 2.0, and Imaginos 2.1. And of course, Chaos. Remember, he brought up that there in the game, I guess there's an Imaginos 1.5 body. So there's actually, if you throw in the game, there's 4 Imaginos bodies. They probably wouldn't do that in a movie because that's going to take way too much time. They would probably just have her in an Imaginos body, and they probably wouldn't make it so OP like the 2.1 body, but it would probably be like an order of magnitude more powerful than the berserker body, let's say. So that but anyway, that's kind of what I think. But yeah, I would like to see the Imaginos body probably in the 3rd or 4th movie, so they could spend enough time on it to develop the story around it. Do Not Stand By. Which body or bodies do you think in a sequel or even a trilogy or whatever, or 4 or 5 movies, do you think you want to see Alita in following the movie?
Well, I'm really looking forward to seeing what they do with the motorball body, and they put so much effort into designing it, but it only got 3 minutes of screen time in the original movie. I'd really like to see what kind of imaginative ways they can show off her motorball body in the beginning of the sequel. And of course, I'd love to see the Imaginos body earlier rather than later, but I could live with her going back to Berserker body for the end of the first sequel.
Yeah.
Amen on the motorball body comment too.
Yeah, I want to. Now, the motorball body is not my favorite, but I want to see her in it. I mean, first of all, she looks good in it, and but I really want to see her definitely in the in the civilian body too. So I want them to make her a knockout in the civilian body. So make her really sexy. That's kind of what the Creek would like to see. Because she's going to be a grown woman by the time. Well, she's already a grown woman in the Berserker body, but she's going to be more mature than she was certainly in the doll body. So. But like we talked last week on Radio Chaos, certainly I guess we're going to keep that PG-13 rating, so we can't get too wild, I guess. So, but that's cool. Creek could be cool with that. So, okay. Any more thoughts about Alita? By the way, do not stand by. We're going to talk about the storylines toward the end of the stream. So, right now we're going over the characters and and some of the characters we want to see, and then after that of course we can talk about anything. We talk about some storylines like we've already done here, but so if you want to make any notes, to make sure you bring up all what you want to see in storylines, we can really tackle that toward the end, I guess.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks for catching me up.
Yeah. Okay, Doc Ito. Yeah, I think we need to see Doc Ito at least in the next movie. And if they follow the manga, we'd see him in the next movie, and then we'd see him, say, in the 5th movie, something like this. If they follow the original manga and the Last Order. So I think what I would like to see, and you guys can chime in too, I want to see him in more hunter warrior kind of situations. We did see him, briefly fight Romo, and they had that one little snippet where he was talking to Alita, where he was talking about him being a hunter warrior, but we really didn't get a sense of how good a hunter warrior he is. In the manga, he's really athletic, and he's a pretty powerful hunter warrior, but you don't get that sense in the movie, do you? He's more like a dad figure, I guess. That he's a hunter warrior, but people respect him more because he's a cyber doc, I guess. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Well, I found it adorable when Alita said we could be a team when she was trying to convince Ito to let her be a hunter warrior. I'd love for there to be a scene in the sequel where they are a team. They do get to be a team, and she does get to work with him to take down a bounty.
Yeah, that would be cool. Yeah, because he did cave in eventually, didn't he? Almost too late. I mean, Barishka almost killed her, so he would have been devastated twice, losing his real daughter and losing his adopted daughter, Alita, if Barishka had killed Alita, So
I 100% think Christoph Waltz is the Doc Ito that we needed for the movie, but I haven't seen much of his other roles. In saying that, I'm actually starting to think if the reason why we didn't see much action from Doc Ito is simply because of script and or time constraints.
Yep, that's right.
Because I see no considering some of the movies that he's the other movies that he's been in, again, I haven't seen them, so I don't know if he's had any, if at all, action sequences. But he's given me no reason to think otherwise, that he's not capable of action sequences, at least choreographed ones at the very least anyway. And who's to say that he can't use a body double?
Yeah, that's right. Did you see him in Inglourious Bastards?
No.
He played a pretty tough, conniving Nazi officer, So in that one, he was good, But but even there, he didn't do a lot of physical. He didn't do any physical stuff really. He was a officer in the in the German military, you know. So and it's hybrid, and I guess yeah, hybrid, and Finestro would know, called the Deutsches Wehrmacht, I guess. So he was I think he was like a major or a colonel, I think, if I'm not mistaken, you know. But and he was also in Django Unchained too. He was in there, and I only saw him in a trailer on that one. I don't know what he did in that one. So
Well,
you
let's
know, but
take it
he,
from a different angle. Ian McDermott, who's I mean, I'd have to Google it, but he's quite possibly even older than Walt. Yeah, they'd both be up there, but nowhere near as old as Creaky. Um,
yeah,
but
he's not 8,000 years old. No.
he still managed to pull off the same sort of persona of Dark Lord of the Sith in Sidious,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
they like 100% used a body double for his lightsaber fight scenes against Windu, for example.
Yeah.
And Yoda. Now, you know, who's to say that they can't do the same thing for Doc Ito and the Rocket Hammer? So going back to what Do Not Stand By said earlier, I wouldn't mind seeing a few more, you know, action scenes. And we even saw like a small dabble of it in the first movie when he
Yeah.
disarmed Romo. And he sort of like while he didn't take any swings, he did zig and zag through like a bar fight to break it up without any
Yeah.
sort of like fear for his own safety, because you know clearly he knew what he was getting himself into. He knew what he was doing. So
Yeah. Dankeschön, Finestro, mein Deutsch ist, ich spreche nur ein bisschen Deutsch, aber danke. So anyway, but yeah, I think he could do it. I mean, you know, he might need a little training, and he could do some, he might need some, you know, kind of, you know, just kind of like what Rosa went through. You know, Rosa actually did some training. Remember, she said she was nothing but a croissant when she started. So she went through all of the martial arts training, and rollerblading, and even
he,
lifted some weights and stuff like that. So she was, so you know, she got in shape. And there's no reason to think uh, that Waltz couldn't do that. You know, I think he could
with
probably
all
do it.
yeah, with all respect to the Academy Award winner, yeah, when it comes to the physical prowess, he's got nothing on Rosa. I mean, like even taking away the aspect of youth, because she really, well, we've all seen the uh, the Blu-ray
Yeah,
specials.
yeah, and seeing it on YouTube and all that stuff about all that martial arts she was doing. You know, so. Yeah, I mean that was kind of important for her to do that too, because you know it made the moves, you know, the moves that she did in the martial arts, you know, in for Panzer Kunz, let's say, you know, they were more realistic because you know I mean, she got into them, you know, I mean, she was definitely, you know, she was the key element there. Now, of course, you know, certainly. What Selena Leyen, I guess, did a lot of that too. I guess because you know she was Rosa's body double. You know, but I don't know where Rosa dropped off and Selena took over. I don't know. You know, but
Yeah, from what I
you know,
recall in Selena's talk with us, she was more just there to get the lighting right and get the costumes looking correct in the scenes. She wasn't
yeah,
really the action double. But I think that a lot of Rosa's martial arts even showed up when she wasn't really doing martial arts, just when she was strutting in to look for Vector into the factory. that strut, I think, was really made all the more powerful by her martial arts training.
Yeah, I think so. That's a good point because if she hadn't done all that, you would be able to tell, that her flexibility, her ability overall, you would be able to see that it was it's a movie, kind of thing. But it looked realistic. It's certainly that flying sidekick she did on Romo looked pretty good to me. And then when she did that kind of that improvised double flying sidekick on Nisiana that took her head off, that looked pretty good to me too. So, and I don't know how much of that was done by a stunt double, but still, Rosa had to practice that kind of stuff, or at least know the technique behind it, to initiate it, So, what about her and what about Alita and Doc Ito having a falling out? They kind of do have a falling out in the manga, where I don't know if how much of a falling out it was, but she moved out and got in her own apartment. And Doc Ito, you remember, he became Joshigan's tuner, I guess. And that kind of, I think, pissed Alita off, a little bit. So, what do you think? How do you think that would play out in the movie, I guess?
Yeah, that part I think is going to have to be rewritten quite a bit because there was that really powerful scene when Doc Ito showed that he supported Alita in what she was doing, and she accepted her as a motorball player. And the original storyline doesn't seem to really mesh up very well with that.
No, it doesn't. Yeah, because he didn't want her to play motorball in the manga, did he?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, he teamed up with Joshigan to get her to come back to him. He wanted her to fail in motorball, and I guess that's a conflict that doesn't seem to really fit well with the movie storyline.
No, it doesn't. Yeah, it does not. That's right.
I wouldn't say a falling out, but there's no reason why they can't have an argument because when she fights for the number 99 in the official league, I should say, like her body gets absolutely busted up then as well. And who's to say on her way to like facing off against Jashugan that her motorball body doesn't get trashed and all of a sudden Ito's going, holy shit. Excuse me for a second. Like, oh my God, Alita's motorball body just got trashed because, she had a slip of concentration or she wasn't paying attention, whatever, or was too narrow-minded or too tunnel vision focused on something else. Maybe something was said to her in the locker rooms, to paraphrase the first movie there, or the announcer. So while I don't think, I agree with Do Not Stand By in the fact that it wouldn't marry up well with the progression of their relationship from the first movie, it doesn't mean that they can't have an argument as opposed to a falling out. It's like, Alita, you got to bloody well be more careful when you're out there. You got to pay more attention. I mean, he says that in the first movie.
Well, they did have two arguments in the movie, didn't they? When she wanted to be his teammate, and he said no, and she says, how is that why is that your decision to make, or something like that? And then she got mad at him for not putting her in the berserker body. So they had actually two little tips there, didn't they, in the movie? So yeah, there's no reason why basically they're humans. They're going to have arguments, and if he's a father figure and she's still kind of a young, I think in her berserker body, she's not a teenager anymore, but I think, certainly they'll have disagreements, the daughter father disagreement kind of thing, so I think that's definitely, there's no reason why they couldn't have that in the second movie for sure.
Yeah. So more Hunter Warrior scenes from Ito and possible expansion on the familial,
Yeah.
familial family relationship dynamic with
Yeah, I
Ito
think so.
and Alita.
Yeah, they probably don't celebrate Thanksgiving or whatever you guys in Australia celebrate, where the family gets together and just has a big dinner. I guess. Yeah, I guess you do that at Christmas, like we do too. I guess, but yeah, maybe they could do something like that in the movie too. Maybe she does move into an apartment, and then her and Ito kind of get back together a little bit as father daughter, kind of thing. So.
Ooh, uh, my familial comment combined with something that Asher said just made me had an epiphany. Have you got any? And it's okay if it's later on in the stream, but did you include Shumira as part of your?
Oh no, I didn't. But I do have a kind of a catch-all bullet
Oh,
at kind of
good.
toward the end, so we can talk about a bunch. We can talk about a bunch of others. I mean, like say I left Gelda off. I don't know why I left Gelda off. She's one of my favorite characters in the manga. I don't know. I just guess I had a senior moment, I guess. But anyway, yeah, we can definitely talk about Shamira. We can talk about Sarah for that matter. That was Zapan's woman. I mean, that's certainly
And
we can talk about
McTeague's
that.
daughter, if they wanted to keep that
Yeah,
aspect.
McTeague. Yeah, McTeague's daughter. Yeah, or Murdoch's or whoever. So, okay, guys. Any more about Doc Ito?
Yeah, well, here's an idea. Maybe Alita could become obsessed with taking out Nova, and when she finds out that Jashikan was tweaked by Nova, that might make her obsessed with destroying Jashikan. But somehow, maybe Ito has a past with Jashikan and is trying to reason with Alita that, hey, just because Jashikan was fixed up by Nova doesn't make him Nova. And that could be one way that they have a fight.
Well, I know in the manga, Alita does have a poster of Joshigan up in her apartment. I think. Am I right about that, guys? I believe I remember reading that somewhere, seeing that in the manga. Do you remember that, any Angelus?
Not off the top of my head, but I'm all but. Again, I have to say it. I'm sorry, but I'm 99% certain that she does have some sort of independent living arrangements.
Yeah. Because I know in the novelization, when she meets Joshigan in the locker room, she's kind of starstruck by him. I mean, that's it was like she was in the presence of royalty, if I remember what the verbiage was. So I don't know how well that would fit in the sequel, though, because in the sequel they're going to become combatants, basically, or at least competitors.
Yeah, there's a difference in that the storyline for the movie Alita is that she has revenge on her mind against Nova for what happened
Yeah.
to Hugo, and that wasn't the case in the manga. She really didn't have a grudge against Nova until later on after the Motorball arc. But now that she does have a grudge, maybe her falling out or her fight with Ito could be over how obsessed she becomes at taking out Nova and anybody she perceives as being his minion.
Yeah. You guys are going to think I've lost my mind, but I even left Nova out. So I don't know why I did that. He's another character I should have thought of immediately. But we can talk about him toward the end, too. So, because he definitely needs to be he needs to be throughout the franchise, I think. For one thing, he's, what is he, biologically immortal, for one thing. And he's, got that cloud of nanomachines around him to keep him going, So, yeah, he's definitely got to be in all the movies and the series, I think. Okay, any more thoughts about Doc Ito?
Oh, well, one more thought. Ito
Yeah.
did mention to Alita at the end of the first movie that Nova was the reason why he and Shirin were forced out of Zalem because of their daughter's sickness. And that might be an important plot line that they explore in the sequel.
Yeah, maybe Alita wants to go after Nova because of that, or something like that, because she'll feel like Nova mistreated her father, I guess, in this case, and even since Shirin helped her rather, then she's not going to appreciate that either. So yeah, that's a good thought. Okay. Oh yeah, we definitely got to see this guy. This is a guy that Alita's going to have to deal with, I think, in the sequel. And yeah, he should get the Berserker body. Matter of fact, there was an interview that Ed Skrein did with, I forget who it was, where he talked about getting the Berserker body, And at the time I did, because I hadn't read the manga at that point, but I thought, well, why would he think he needs that Berserker body? That's Alita's body, or something like that. And then I read the manga, of course, now I get it. So, yeah,
Definitely have
I
to
mean,
be digging around for that.
yeah, for sure. So, yeah, him in a berserker body, and of course that berserker body becoming like a monster of some kind. Not a monster like not like a werewolf or anything like that, but like a huge cyborg, kind of out of control, destroying everything in sight type thing. Is what he would probably be. Probably be like Den a little bit. Finestro says, "What about in a motorball body?" I don't know. Zapan in the manga, he doesn't play motorball. He's just strictly a hunter warrior, And at one point, he was actually helping Sarah, I guess, kind of work, in that, what was it, that it was like a soup kitchen, I guess, of some kind, where they, the homeless would show up there and Sarah would feed them and stuff like that. And he helped her with that. So, and for that brief time, he was kind of a decent human being, wasn't he, in that manga, doing that until he saw Alita's, picture or something. He saw her in a video playing motorball, and he just went off the rails at that point because he still hated her. For not only just humiliating him, but for slicing his face off for one thing. So
Yeah, I don't know about motorball, but definitely, I'm just starting to picture it now. Like one of my other favorite movie series, for lack of a better term, franchises, I think is a better one, is Underworld with Kate Beckinsale. And
yeah,
the transformations for the lichens in that one are
yeah,
unique, to say the least. And I can just imagine combining that with the way a leader's body transformed with the nanobots. If he'd have to have some level of nanobot technology with his quote unquote berserker body as well. And I can just imagine him like having his face completely remade and unrecognizable as it was in the manga. And they might even keep some design aspects of his face from the manga when he goes, berserk.
yeah,
And
yeah,
and yeah, God, we need that sequel. God damn it, Disney.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah. We do need
oh,
that sequel, Disney. You're right.
it's, I got to calm down. But yeah,
You and Vladi.
there's it's pretty much just like maybe even going in reverse in the sense that because he'd have a lack of funds, I doubt that Doc Ito would want to give him any free repairs. he probably definitely, wouldn't go there even on the very basis of a sense of pride. And if he has been disgraced, maybe some of the other lesser skilled cyber doctors probably wouldn't want to treat him either. So obviously his own cyber body, or the rest of his cyber body, would grow decrepit over time, and like not until he receives the berserker body and the nanobots does it like fix itself back up. So basically, I guess the reverse of like a downgrade, or seeing him in a downgraded cyber body, would be very interesting.
Yeah, because that body he's in right there, it's powerful, but it's not. It certainly isn't as advanced as a berserker body, and it kind of makes you wonder if there's that old saying that absolute power corrupts absolutely. He gets that berserker body, and he kind of realizes he has all this power. It's going to go to his head, I think. And I think if he gets a downgraded body, it's going to kind of freak him out. He's not going to like it, because he's used to being, kind of at the top of the heap on that stuff. And now he's just got a regular old cyborg body that doesn't have anything particularly outstanding about it, and now he's just a run of the mill, kind of average cyborg, if you want to think of it as that. And that, I think that's going to bother him a lot, if he gets that body. So.
Yep. And it'll be a tiny bit of a shame, but like seeing the detail of his cyber body, especially the Aztec design on the back.
Yeah.
Like I said, being downgraded due to both wear and tear and lack of maintenance, just add more punch and more depth to just his whole arc in general.
Yeah, I think it's good. Here's one thing about him too. Although we kind of get an idea about who he is, because Hugo explained it to Alita. They didn't really develop him that much because, of course, they were developing Alita's backstory, a lot about her. But if they could dedicate a little bit of time so we get the idea that he's not strictly an evil person, he's just somebody that does what he does, and it has negative consequences for him, and he's having to live with it. And what does that do to him? That's the kind of thing I'd like to see with Zapan, because he's, he like say he's a human being, he's like Alita in a lot of ways. He's mostly he's mostly machine, and probably his brain is the only thing that's human. So, yeah, I'd just like to see that other half of him, especially when he has Sarah. It'd be kind of cool to see him in a kind of thing like that with Sarah. And then he goes off the rails and kills her. And then, of course, that kind of kicks off another whole arc, or another whole segment, about what he's doing, what he does to Zalem, I mean, not Zalem, Iron City. Any thoughts about Zapan there, or Do Not Stand By?
Yeah, I really would like to see him and his better side with Sarah. And of course, I'd like McTeague to get involved, especially if he's cast as Sarah's dad. I don't know if Zapan necessarily needs to go to a downgraded body. I mean, there wasn't anything that happened to his body in a bad way in the first movie. It was just that he got his face sliced off. But I would like to see him be corrupted somehow by Nova, and have that be a part of Alita's revenge arc as well.
Yeah, he's definitely going to be he's going to be a major player in one of the arcs in the second movie. I think he's got to be, because he, like I say, he's got an axe to grind with Alita, doesn't he? I mean, in his mind, I mean, he brought it on himself. He pulled all that crap, trying to destroy her mentally and physically and stuff like that, and it backfired on him. So he has nobody to blame but himself. But if you look at it through his eyes, he probably thinks everything's Alita's fault.
It's practically public knowledge at this stage that Japan, like movie law, Japan tried to steal Alita's bounty, failed, lost his face, and let's just say, let's give him a generic, he was outcast into the Badlands or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
And you could even use that as like a double up as a Badlands hook into that sort of storyline arc. But anyway, and of course, there's watchers behind the eyes of everyone nowadays, and like in that aspect, Nova's riding someone somewhere, keeping an eye on the leader, and no doubt he'd find out that Japan hates a leader with a vengeance, specifically hates a leader. In fact, that's probably the only trigger that Nova would really need to make him choose Japan, whether Japan likes it or not. But
yeah, well, I think the whole thing about the manga is that one of the I think Nova is the one that gives Japan a berserker body, isn't it? Isn't that the way that works? If I'm not mistaken.
Well, in manga, he gives Japan Alita's berserker body.
Yeah, that's right.
She disguised that. But in that case, something that I sort of kept in the back of my head, it's implied that there's more than one berserker body somewhere, like
probably
out there.
Yeah.
I mean, like, how did Alita discover her initial berserker body in the first place? Because it was practically, the last one in the in that particular ship. Or who's to say that Nova just doesn't want to test his own variant of the berserker body that leads to the Imaginos? The possibilities are endless. And he decides to use Japan as the experiment, and again double up by trying to use that experiment to try and take out a leader to see how strong his quote-unquote experiment really is. How would that shape up against a trained consular in a berserker body?
And
he doesn't get better than that.
Yeah. And particularly if she shot Japan, he's in a berserker body, she shoots him with that collapse around, that'd be interesting to see on screen, wouldn't it? To see how they would do that. To see, how they, yeah.
And who's to say that the fallen angel context isn't the fact that she had to put down to Japan because, much like, she could see a piece of herself in Japan, in the fact that, she did kind of, it's his own dumb fault because he did technically kill someone, but only we as the viewers know that. Everyone else that saw that is dead, well, except for the third guy, but he pissed off, and I doubt he's going to sort of say, hey, Japan's really the bad guy in all this. But
oh, you mean his name was Biff, I think. That guy that was helping Tanji, you mean?
Yeah. So I doubt that he'd want to pop up his head knowing how cutthroat that sort of business is. He'd be implicating himself at the very least, but I digress.
Mm.
But going back to feeling sorry for Japan, who's to say that the leader won't sort of, be the fallen angel in that context, because she's had to put down Japan, she's had to kill him, and basically he's made some pretty bad and shitty decisions. Most of them being against the leader, but some of those she can just sort of dismiss personally, and the others she can endure. But I don't know.
Yeah.
It's basically, even she felt sorry for Japan. She felt sorry for Makaku,
Yeah.
and that's just because of her own nature.
Yeah.
So, who's to say that instead of like having a falling out in terms of law and order, who's to say that she won't have a falling out with her own conscience, and then become the fallen angel in that respect, and in somehow, shape or form, in her despair, she gets reminded by Gelder that uh, she still has to finish the mission. She still has to slay the dragon, the watcher behind the eyes, the man responsible for basically all the shit that's happened in Iron City, and that's Nova. And then that sort of galvanizes her back on track to focus, and then like enter Figure 4. Again,
Yeah.
possibilities are endless, but yeah, you could have the going back to Japan and like what characters we'd want to see and what bodies we'd want to see him in. You could have the Berserker body introduced that way.
Yeah, I think so. I think that would work. It'd be interesting to see how Nova would get Alita's Berserker body, because Ito has it. Ito has it in storage. And if Nova's going to give Japan the Berserker body, and it's Alita's Berserker body, he's got to get that somehow, doesn't he?
Well, to expand, to expand on Angelus's idea, why couldn't it be Gelda's Berserker body? We know that Gelda and Alita were going up the tube, but we don't know what happened to them in their attempt to take out Nova. Well, maybe Nova was able to take both of them out and kept Gelda's Berserker body.
That's also a possibility.
Yeah, that's right. That's two Berserker bodies then. So I could go back to my thing wanting to see Alita in a Berserker body fighting Japan in a Berserker body.
And unless they had some sort of self-destruct program, what about all the other Berserkers or all the other Kunzlers that got knocked down by the defense rings? Unless it was like an officer and non-commissioned officer sort of thing, where only high-ranking officers or Kunzlers got Berserker bodies. Who's to say that entire unit wasn't Berserkers? Because technically we saw all the other soldiers in the background in helmets and uniform, but only Gelda and Alita were unique in that respect. So who knows?
Yeah, they might have just had I think in that one video, about the fall, Alita started out in like a titanium body, I guess, when she got in the Air military, and then they transferred her to a Berserker body, I believe is the way that went. So the other soldiers in her squad probably were in the same body that she was in before she got her Berserker body, And you get the distinct impression that Alita in that fight going up the supply tube, she's second in command. I kind of got that feeling about her, because like you say, only her and Gelda were unique in that regard, in terms about what body they had or the fact they didn't have a helmet and stuff like that, Okay. Any more thoughts about our buddy Japan? Anything else? Do not stand by. You maybe want to chime in on Japan or what?
Yeah, well, I'd love to have a sequence in the sequel about what happened to Gelda and Lito when they got up the tube and they faced off with Nova. And I'm wondering if, from a narrative standpoint, it'd be better if Japan ended up with Gelda's Berserker body, or even if he ended up with Alita's original Berserker body when she was taken out by Ito the first time.
Yeah. Yeah, I prefer there being two Berserker bodies because I want to see them fight. I think Alita would have the edge because she knows Panzer Kunst and Zapan does not. So I mean, Zapan would certainly have a lot of power, but I think up against her, where she knows Panzer Kunst, she's going to take him. So
I think it just goes to show that there's so many options while still being able to stay faithful to the source material that it's like it's almost it's like, wow, it's almost too easy for the script writers to adapt Alita. But
yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Angelus. You triggered something in my brain there when you said that. But go ahead. Finish your thought. I'm sorry.
Well, that's pretty much the end of the thought. I just extrapolated that, and I don't want you to lose your train of thought. So please go ahead.
Oh no. Yeah. Well, the only thing I was going to say is they do have so much content that has a lot of flexibility in it. Gosh, you would just think they would be chomping at the bit to do a sequel. I mean, granted, maybe they didn't make as much money as they wanted, but they did make money. It wasn't like they lost money. I mean, they've made sequels on movies that have lost money. But they certainly didn't lose money with Alita. That's for sure. And the fact that they got so much content to work with, holy mackerel, you'd think, yeah, okay, this is easy. I mean, we've got the treatment, if you want to think of it that. We got the treatment already. So now all we got to do is just, kind of read through that and just, write our script. Now I'm making it sound more easy, obviously, than it is probably, but, but at least they got that one step, taken care of, So anyway.
Yeah, there's a whole lot of theory crafting we could do on why that happened, and whether it's Disney or whether it's people that just want to hate on Rob Rod, or people that want to hate on Cameron, or people that just want to hate for the sake of hating, which is probably the most stupid reason of all. But
yeah, it's like I think it might have been Ash Blackman that said this: haters got to hate, or might not have been Ash, it might have been somebody else, but yeah, they're gonna hate, and that's one of the things that it's gonna be kind of something to watch for, I guess, is when they do greenlight that sequel. There's going to be haters. They're going to hate. So anyway, I guess we got to just be prepared for it. So
before we move on to the next slide, I will laugh so hard. I mean, I don't know if they've greenlit it or not, but I'd laugh so hard if the Alita sequel came out before the Captain Marvel sequel.
Well, you know what, Angelus, I actually liked Captain Marvel. Now, I think, I think it had issues. I think it had problems, but it was entertaining. I've watched it a couple of times, certainly I don't think it's near as good as Alita, that's for sure. But, I mean, I like that character, now some of the haters got on that one too, because, they were some of these fanboys don't like strong females, and to me, I think they're idiots. I mean, if your masculinity depends on you putting down a strong female character, then man, you are in big trouble as a man. That's just my opinion. So anyway, I don't want to go too far with that. They would get it. I don't want to get into this woke stuff, but anyway, but yeah, I mean, they shouldn't feel threatened by a strong female character. They just shouldn't, but anyway, and Alita is definitely a strong female character. And man, they're going to go nuts, when she gets that Imaginos body, because she's going to be even stronger than she was in the Berserker body. They'll go nuts when she gets that body. So anyway, yeah, Evernaut said he doesn't like Captain Marvel. Okay, that's cool, Evernaut, and we all have our opinions. That's no problem. We all, but I know Avernaut, I know he loves Alita like the Creek does. So, we're on the same wavelength. Okay, let's go to the next one. McTeague. Yeah, I got to see this guy. Jeff Fahey is the guy that plays McTeague. And, of course, in the manga, he's Murdoch. But, Al told us last week, last Saturday, that, he's a joy to work with. And he's just, she would love to work with him again, stuff like that. And I can kind of see that because I've seen him in a lot of movies. The first movie I ever saw him in was a movie called Silverado, and he played an outlaw, who is a particularly kind of just a bad guy. He's just a bully. He's he would shoot you between the eyes just as soon as look at you. But he really did a great job on that part. And he's been in some other movies too. So he's really great. Now I think in the case of the movie or the manga, he is actually Sarah's father. And that's who takes up with Zapan. And Mikey Vike. Yep, we will. The Creek is making a prediction right now, and I know Angelus and Do Not Stand By agree with me. We will see an Alita sequel. It's not a question of if, it's a question of when, because there's been a lot of positive happenings here in the last 3 weeks or so, where Rosa is constantly talking about Alita, even now, 3 years later, and she's done some other stuff since then. All the actors, they want to do another Alita sequel, and James Cameron and Robert Rodriguez, they all are thinking about Alita, and they want a sequel. So, you can go on the Alita Army website or not website, a YouTube channel, or my YouTube channel, or Starbellion's YouTube channel. There's a video on there of Alita talking about. Not Alita. Well, she is Alita. Rosa talking about Alita. So, Mikey, I guess go in there and look at that. I think that'll uplift your spirits a little bit, because I know it uplifted the spirits of the Alita Army when we saw it. So, and we damn near did a whole stream on it a couple of weeks ago, didn't we, Angelus? So that was pretty cool, I guess. So. Yeah, Abernaut says, he was in Lawnmower Man. Yeah, I remember that. That was a good movie. He plays just a regular old, kind of a dull guy. He's just, it says Lawnmower Man. I guess he cuts yards and stuff like that, does yard work and stuff. And he's part of an experiment, I think, at a university or something like this. And he somehow. It enhances his mind in such a way that he starts becoming more powerful, where he can control electricity and stuff like that. But he did a great job on that movie too. He's really a good actor. I like this guy a lot. He's pretty cool. I've seen him in 2 or 3 westerns. He's really good as a cowboy, But as you can see there, he looks like a cowboy, But in this case, he's a dog master, hunter, warrior, So.
I just realized, if ever there was an argument for CGI in cinema, it's an image of Fahey in Lawnmower Man versus an image of Fahey in Alita Battle Angel.
There'd be two.
You go from one to the other, and it's like, this is what CGI gave us in a 30-plus year time span. And you're telling me that CGI doesn't belong in cinema? Get banned.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, go take your silly ass problem down the hall somewhere and tell that to somebody who cares. So you're right, Hybrid. I guess McTeague and his Hellhounds, they were instrumental in saving Alita's life. Of course, so was Ito and Hugo. Certainly, they were there as well. But. Yeah, those Hellhounds are what fought off Gerwishka. Gerwishka, big bad Gerwishka. Of course, he was on fire, so that probably didn't feel too good. But Yeah, they basically chased him down that whatever that sewer pipe was that he ran off out down there. So
Fury, Glory, something sounding really cool, and the last dog's name. Fuck, I gotta Google it now.
yeah, Fury, I remember. Didn't remember the rest of them.
Here we go.
No.
Fury, Glory, Valor. That's a cool sounding name that I thought sounded cool. And
Yeah.
Hubris,
Yeah.
which now looking back, I think I thought I associated with the bone in the human body, which is really weird, but go figure.
Yeah,
But Hubris, yeah. So Fury, Glory, Hubris, and Valor are the name of his 4 dogs.
Yep.
So I got 2 out of the 4.
Now they're CGI, but you remember Elle said those dogs were there, so they I don't know if they wear motion capture suits or not. So I don't know how they pulled that off, but yeah, that's of course there you see them there. They're more like android dogs almost, aren't they? Or I guess a couple of them are android dogs, and the other one's that one in the middle there looks like he's a cyborg dog. Look, he does have some some canine hair on him, so maybe he's got some canine parts to him, So yeah, that's right. Jeff Fahey was also in that movie called Body Parts. God, I saw that thing a long time ago, but I don't remember it. So anyway, I might, So he always plays a tough guy, except in Lawnmower Man, he wasn't that tough. Although he ends up being pretty powerful, so I guess he was tough in that movie too. So, but in the Lawnmower Man, he's almost like a dull, stupid guy when he starts out, and then he's just his intelligence. He gets telekinesis. He can do different stuff with his mind. I mean, it's ridiculous, But it's really a good movie, though. I really liked it. Any more thoughts about McTeague? I'd like to see him get after Sapan for killing Sarah. That's what I want to see, Because I think in the manga he does, as Murdoch, that is.
Well, he's not going to go take down Japan, but I do hope that he does get to have a glorious moment when he really gets to show off all this stuff.
Yeah, he's a good actor. I really like that guy. He's real good. Like I said, I've seen him mostly in westerns, but he's real good. He can play anything, so he's a good actor. Okay, now this shouldn't surprise anybody. The Creek and Angelus really like Elle. We think she is great, man. She was good in this movie. And we on the Radio Chaos stream last week, we surmised that we in the discussion we decided that Screwhead's not dead. I mean, now Stinger's dead because he got crushed to bits and his brain got crushed under that whatever that thing with the wheels that tore him apart, or crushed him. But Screwhead, remember she talked about her head they could take her head off and put it on a different body. Hey, her head was intact. So what I think happened is when Stinger cut her in half or in 3 pieces like he did, and Alita, finally ended up killing Stinger, I think she was just unconscious, and I think it's one of those things like Maxie was saying that when the cyborg suffers severe trauma, then their system kicks them into some kind of hibernation mode to protect them, and so they can be later put back together, and then she can, be revived, So one thing that we did mention in that stream, of course, is that it'd be really cool that if Screwhead kind of had a reflective moment, which we might call a come to Jesus moment, for internally within herself, when she finds out that Vector was really conning everybody trying to get Alita's heart, that she's going to have a kind of a, kind of one of those epiphanies that says, well, this is bull crap. I'm not going to support this crap. I'm going to help my girl here fight, whoever this is trying to get her heart. That would be really cool to see Screwhead and Alita team up. You'd have two badass females, going after Nova. Man, that'd be great. I think the Freak would love to see that. That would be another kind of a necessary thing in the sequel, and probably even into the third movie. I think I'd like to see Screwhead make a comeback, and Elle said she would play Screwhead if we could talk Disney into it. So one of the things the Elite Army needs to do is, as we're trying to browbeat Disney into a sequel or a series or whatever, that we need to make them know that, hey, we want Screwhead in this thing too. So we know what we want, and you're going to give us this, Disney. So anyway, thoughts, guys. What do y'all have to say about that?
If anything, I think if they're going to bring back any of the other bounty hunters, Screwhead would be amongst one of them.
Yeah.
Mainly because of both Rodriguez and Cameron's. I can't think of the correct grammatical word for it, but they're like people almost expect them to, like they're used to. No, not even used to is the right word for it. Both of them just know how to make a strong female character.
Yeah.
And without ticking the boxes, so to speak, they know how to make a strong female character without, putting it as kindly as I can, shoving it down your throat.
Yeah.
So, and Screwhead is exactly that. I mean, and then on top of that, you've got Crimson Wind as well. So
yeah,
it's like,
damn it, I didn't write her name down either. I gotta write that name down too, so I don't forget it.
So they're almost spoiled for choice, and I've always said that, yeah, sure, equality and all that, but even if the playing field was level, give me one decent female lead over 10 male equivalents, and I'd still choose a female character every time. I still choose Screwhead. I still choose Alita. I still choose, Ellen Ripley and all the other characters that are just forgetting, leaving my head because I'm having a brain fart moment here. Sarah Connor, all of those female characters.
Or say Ripley in Aliens. That's another one.
So you give me any one of those for every 10. And I don't say this to hate, but you give me one of those for every 10 Tony Starks or Captain Americas or Hulks, or take your pick out of all the other male characters out there. And
yeah,
I don't know, it's
I'll go ahead.
Just to sort of expand on my and I'll leave it at that before I go back to the topic here.
Yeah.
But my first ever personal trainer that I ever met was female. And she showed me around the gym, showed me what we'd be doing, what's involved with having a personal trainer. And at the end, she shook my hand. And granted, I was a big boy back then, but even then, she was still half my size in both height, weight, width, and all other dimensions. And when she shook my hand, I swear she could have just quite literally do an Alita and tear my arm off and beat me with the wet end. No joke. She had that strong, that firm a grip that I felt like, oh wow, I did not expect. Again, to paraphrase Chiron here, I did not expect that much power from that small a body, and that impressed me. That spoke volumes, and like I hate to sound sexist here, but you'd expect that from a guy that's like 6 feet tall and built like a brick house sort of thing, but not from this tiny female standing in front of me, and yet she did it. And like from then on in, I always had like respect from, like, I wouldn't say that like I didn't respect females back then, but my respect for them grew, and especially females grew that were in, again, back then, a male predominant thing, whether it be in personal training or otherwise. But so yeah, going back to Alita, like I said, you give me one decent female character for every 10 male characters, and I'd still be impressed.
Mm-hmm. Well, what I like about this character, about Screwhead, is her intensity. I mean, in the entire movie, man, it just extremely intense. I'm going, holy crap, yeah, I don't want to get crosswise with somebody like that, because a cyborg like this, hey, and she's a professional killer too, so I mean, whoa, okay, I'll walk on the other side of the street as you're coming down here, so I don't get crossways with you, that kind of thing, But yeah, this is a character I think has got to come back, And now, granted, she wasn't in the manga. There's no doubt about that, And we had a long talk about that one too. But hey, she can still be in the sequel or in a trilogy and still, as Alita's friend, let's say, just still still be within the spirit of the manga, So I think it's cool. It's like Shirin, as an example, wasn't in the manga, and she was in the movie. So I mean, it's no, it doesn't have to be an absolute like that, I don't think. So Do Not Stand By, what do you think of Screwhead? What do you think about her as being in one of the follow-up movies?
I think it'd be a great character arc for her, given that she was in the room when Alita tried to give her a stirring speech to get all her brothers and sisters to fight and join together against Grishka. And she sneered and snickered at Alita at the time. And then she tried to kill Alita. It would be great to have a story where she comes around to see the error of her ways and ultimately ends up doing what Alita was pleading in the beginning, which is to join together to fight a greater evil. And in the sequel case, it would be Japan. And then plus she does Motorball too, so there could be a possibility where she gets involved with the Jashigan showdown in the end.
Mm-hmm. Now she's not a Champions League or First League, pro in Motorball. She's a second league she basically was on the factory practice team, or at least that's what they said. Although Ito said that's not the factory practice team. Those guys are hunter warriors, and 2 of them are criminals or something, So but she obviously knew how to play Motorball in the movie. So, that's pretty neat. So.
Yeah, that's true. But in the manga, it ended up that Alita's showdown with Josh Gunn was not in like the final championship battle. Yeah. It was a team event that Josh Gunn gave the terms on. So if they follow that template, then there is a possibility that even though Screwhead's not Champions League, she could be on Alita's team.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's a great idea. Do Not Stand By, and that team challenge that Alita has with Jashigan, Screwhead being on Alita's team with Adjicutty and Crimson Wind. That'd be cool, wouldn't it? It certainly would be.
Yeah, I think it could work well, but it could also work well that she ends up being one of the bounty hunters that helps Alita in the final fight against Japan, and maybe she even sacrifices herself as the final conclusion of her arc.
Mm-hmm. Yep, she's not dead. She's not dead. She's just knocked out. Just in hibernation mode, as they would say. Okay, so Disney, you hear that? We want Screwhead, and we want her in the series or the sequel, in both actually. So there you go. So, okay, I guess moving right along here. Certainly, we got to see this guy. I mean, Jai Courtney. We got to see him in there as Josh Agon. You know, he's going to be one of the main antagonists for Alita. In that competition, and he'll have his team. I am so sure. All of his team, I guess, are going to be First League or Champions League players, whereas Alita, her team is just, it's going to be, well, she's a Champions League player now herself, but Adjicutty, I guess, and Crimson Wind would be, but Screwhead would not be, but she would still be on the team. But yeah, that'd be the coolest thing ever to see them. It'd be a neat scene also, because Josh Agon in the manga is a big guy. He's and as Alita described him, he was almost majestic, But in the I guess in the novelization, she described him kind of that way. But to see them in that, kind of arm wrestling match, that would be kind of a neat thing to see them pull off that in the sequel, because that was kind of a pivotal moment, I guess, in the manga, and it was one of those deals, I guess, where Alita says, if you beat me, I'll give you my heart. Of course, she's already said that to Hugo, but they couldn't use that again probably. But yeah, where he's Josh Agon's walking down the street after, I guess they kind of, I guess, arm wrestled to a draw, I guess, and then he's walking down the street and his arm falls off. He said, if I'd have kept up with her, she'd have killed me or something, or something like that, So so it would be really neat to see that, I think, in the movie. Any thoughts there, guys?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of different directions they could go with Josh Gunn, but I really do hope that they keep the arm wrestling scene. Yeah, it would be good for Alita to still have that personal moment with Josh Gunn when they're in that final fight, and he gets he sacrifices himself, but she sees him as winning. But they'd also have to work into how do you deal with the fact that Josh Gunn was involved with Nova, and Alita is on a revenge trip against Nova. I guess that would be something that would be difficult to figure out. How do you keep that original story of Josh Gunn being a big part of Alita's development, but at the same time, how do you work that in with Alita's revenge arc against Nova now?
And also, if she does work that in, how does she reconcile that? I mean, she's probably like a fangirl of Josh Agon's, to a degree, yet she hates Nova and she finds it, like you say. Now, how does she kind of reconcile the kind of, that kind of conflicting feelings or something like that? How does that work? That'd be kind of neat.
I don't have much to say because most of that was said back with the leader. Because, like I said, I'd love to see like a rollerball type, a rollerball length derby, at least in the first arc / half of the movie.
Yeah.
And a good chunk of that being against Josh Agon. And like my only reconciliation in the context of saving time is perhaps they can combine the arm wrestle event in the actual bout itself, because who's to say, similar to the first motorball match serious motorball match in the first movie, where they So, excuse me. When they were sometimes at a standstill, who's to say that they couldn't have another standstill? And like, you know how often, like, when people go head to head, like, one of them would be like having a haymaker at the opponent, and they'd be stopping it with like an open palm / hand, while they're throwing a haymaker of their own, and that's being stopped by an opposite open palm / hand, and they're sort of like wrestling, quote unquote wrestling for dominance.
Yeah.
So
Well,
you could have that sort of
go ahead.
aspect of the arm wrestle competition in that little scene.
Yeah. In rollerball, remember we had that stream about 3 months ago, I guess it was. They did have kind of what would be an abridged version of an entire rollerball game in which Houston was playing Madrid, if you remember that. And it was 7 minutes long, and it was entertaining. I mean, you would think, oh, we're just watching a sports event here. Oh, goody, they put a sports event in the movie, but it was actually pretty good to watch. Because it gave you a feel for the game. If they did that for rollerball, you'd also get a better feel for the game. About how do you win a motorball match? How do you do that? Is it just crossing the line with a motorball, or is it getting X number of points? When and crossing the finish line with a motorball. Who knows? It'd be neat to kind of know that.
Probably a bit of both, point based as well as, well, if you're the last person standing, then what's stopping you from like doing the laps and getting the points that way?
Yeah, that's right. Well, it's kind of like that one scene in the movie where Adjucutty gets the motorball and he skates into the lead. He has the ball, and I think they do like 10 laps, if I'm not mistaken. But he crossed the finish line on either the first or second lap or whatever lap it was, and the announcer says Adjucutty's got the ball, 1 point, so he's somehow scored a point. It'd be kind of neat to know how he scored a point. I mean, to me, it would be. Anyway.
I think that's possibly expanded on in Doc Gito's journal.
Oh, okay.
The one book that I don't have.
Yeah, we got to see Josh Agon. We definitely got to see him in the movie, in the sequel.
I have a feeling that we probably won't see much of him. At least compared to Japan, but the scenes that we will, I reckon he'd feature pretty heavily, especially in obviously the motorball matches. And in terms of what I would like to see, and all of this being our own personal preferences, I wouldn't mind seeing a little bit of Joshua Gunn outside of the motorball arena, whether it be with or without Shimura. Like, we do see him wandering the markets. I mean, that's how he came across the leader in the first place in manga. Obviously, we do see him in that arm wrestle match. So, there could be a bit of banter leading up to that between a leader and Joshua Gunn. Who knows? So,
yeah.
But yeah, I'd definitely like to see him like outside of the motorball arena at least once. And at least for like a good, few minutes.
Abernaut says he is a European. He doesn't get baseball. Yeah, the idea of baseball, Abernaut, is the one who scores the most runs. But I'm not going to go into baseball here. So anyway, and of course, Hybrid, is asking, there's a rule book in motorball. Well, yeah, there is. I remember seeing a video where they talked about that, and was that in one of the kind of the extras, I guess, on the DVD guys. I don't know if you remember that or not, but they do talk about that a little bit, about some of the rules, like you can't use projectile weapons, they control how much power your engine or your wheels can have and stuff like. Because remember, there was that scene where Ito is putting those wheel feet on Alita, and he I guess he took her regular feet off and put the wheel feet on her, which is a weird concept. But anyway, uh, he said. She said, "You made these for me," and he said, "Yeah, they won't make you any faster, but they're regulation, So there is a rule there, that they can't just use some kind of
But at least they won't fail you.
jet propelled wheel feed or something like that, So
It is in that book. I don't know if it is in actual fact the journal or one of the other ones, and I just haven't come across it. But the rules are explained somewhere.
mm-hmm.
If anyone in live chat knows, Vladdy, Maxi, if you're there, you probably know as well. But
Yeah,
or if
Max
anyone
is
wants
I
to
have,
Google-
yeah.
I have Doc Ito's journal. It's in there.
Oh, cool,
well, there you go.
nice.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. So yeah. Yeah, hybrid. There is a rule book for motorball. There definitely is. It'd be a cool thing. I know they probably wouldn't do this, but if they could include other movies like Rollerball as an example, maybe being the ancestor of motorball. We talked about that in that stream, or where Doc Ito picks up that hand, in the scrapyard, bringing the Terminator universe into the Alita universe, that kind of thing. I think that'd be kind of cool if they did that kind of stuff too. But anyway.
It would be cool, but I'd rather it be, and this is just again personal preference. I'd rather it be more of a cameo aspect, like the hand in the very beginning of the first movie, as opposed to like a multiverse crossover.
Yeah.
I mean, you probably say that more for a series or animated.
Yeah, I think probably so. Yeah, that might work better it could work for a live action series, but yeah, probably anime would work a little better.
And this is a perfect segue into the next slide here. That reminds me too, the only people alive that know Alita, well, technically, that know that Alita specifically has a berserker body is Ito and Koyomi, because we know that Gerhard knows that she has a new body, but I don't think she's aware of the nature of it, as opposed to Ito and to a lesser extent Koyomi, because we know that Koyomi sees Alita drag the body out of the ship. So we know that.
I don't know, Angelus. I think that I know in the novelization, Gerhard is she's Ito had said something about how she's actually qualified, that she's got enough hours in and all, that she could be a cyber surgeon. So she may have enough technical expertise to understand what goes behind that what goes behind that damn berserker body. So she may know that already, because remember,
Also true.
she was because she was reading those displays, just like Ito was. So anyway. So I want to see Koyomi in it. Now, I know we're getting a lot of characters into this, so this is why the Creek thinks we're going to need 3 or 4 movies. But Koyomi has a pretty big role in the Badlands. She's in the manga. She's definitely. She's actually. I guess she kind of gets aligned with Den, doesn't she? With the barjack and all that stuff. So. I don't know if they would do that in a movie or not, but and I would also like to see how she is dealing with Tanji being killed, because I got the feeling in the movie, although they didn't show it that much, that Tanji and Koyomi do have a relationship. You know, at least they seem to. You know, maybe it's just work. I don't know, but how is she handling that? You know, I mean, that's that'd be interesting to see how that plays out. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I'm not sure if Kiyomi and Tanji had anything beyond a friendship, but she was definitely upset at Tanji when Tanji took Alita down, and then later she was annoyed at him for still not coming around to being friendly to Alita when just before the kiss scene. So yeah, I think she had a friendship with Tanji, but she wasn't really agreeing with him. I mean, she wasn't happy with how he was mistreating Alita.
Of course, that backfired on Tanji too, didn't it? In a really big way. So.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess in the end, Tanji's gonna hold a grudge about that. But for Alita,
Yeah.
like she forgave him after getting back at him. She didn't hold any hard feelings against him after
Yeah.
getting back at him in the motorball competition.
Yeah. Yeah, we got to see Koyomi in there, and oh gosh, what's the name of this actor? I can't remember now. Lana Condor. Yeah, that's right. So yeah, she's a good actress. She played Jubilee in a couple of the X-Men movies, which she has kind of a electromagnetic / telekinetic power in those movies, although they don't go into it too much. There was one scene that was a deleted scene to where they were playing pinball or something, and you know, they said, "Oh, I'm out of quarter," and you know, not Koyomi, but Jubilee walks over and puts her finger like on where the coin thing is, and a bunch of quarters came out. So she said, "Now you got some quarters," or something like that, you know, so they could keep playing pinball, you know. So anyway. Okay, so we definitely want to. You guys got any thoughts about Koyomi other than what we've just said there?
Well, she is different in the movie significantly from the manga. She's not. She doesn't seem to be like the photographer type or the reporter type. But maybe they could work in something where she's upset enough about what happened to Hugo and Kanji that she gets into the politics of Den versus Zalem.
Yeah. Okay, well, anyway, moving right along here. Here's one Creek definitely's got to see, and this is going to be probably at the end of the second movie and maybe in the third movie. Figure 4. You know, Figure 4 is, you know, and I'm not going to say who I want to be the actor on this because we're going to save that for our fan cast next week, right, Angelus? So anyway, you know, but I got to see this guy because you know, he's the one that, you know, when Alita gets that tuned body and she's in Badlands, and you know, she is a tuned agent. She's working for Zalem, you know, as a troubleshooter. I'd say is more like an assassin would be more like it, but you know, Figure 4 helps her rediscover her human side, you know, and a scene that I definitely there's two scenes I've got to see with Figure 4 and Alita. One of them is where, and we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, where, you know, Figure 4 and Yol are on the ground, and they're kind of building had collapsed around them, and they're like, Figure 4 says, you know, "Wow, we sure are lucky that window was there. We'd have been crushed," you know. And Alita's standing behind them, holding up this gigantic column with one hand. It probably weighs several tons, you know. And she's kind of looking at him like, "You two are dumbasses," you know, something like that. I got to see that scene. And I got to see the scene where she literally kicks Figure 4's butt and stomps him in the mud. I got to see that, you know. And the reason why I got to see that is because he keeps getting up. and keeps trying to fight her. And she's saying, this guy is unbelievable, and he keeps, even though he is just beat to a pulp, his face is all warped and stuff. And she says, and she just ends up leaving, saying, I'm not going to do this anymore. This guy's crazy or something. But she said, I do remember her saying, this guy's unbelievable. He doesn't know when to quit. Uh, I got to see that. I got to see that scene too. I think it'd be really funny watching Rosa, being in the movie, being 4'11", which of course she's bigger than that in real life, but fighting some giant, monster-looking guy like this with probably 23-inch guns, like you see he's got there on his left arm, holding that rope, and her just beating the living crap out of this guy. I got to see this. I think it would be hilarious, I think. So what do y'all think?
At the very least, yes. And I mean, because they're allowed to, because they made the damn movie in the first place.
Yes.
In the same vein as Alita versus Japan in the Kansas bar, on how
Yeah.
he they did a little humiliation there. It's like, this bitch broke my nose.
Yeah.
It's like, you can have that sort of same.
Yeah. Yes,
What's
I
the word
do.
I'm looking for?
Well,
Banter.
what's interesting about this is that, Figure Four and Alita and Hugo and Alita, those two relationships ended up basically in the same place. Although I think this relationship is a lot more mature, because she's a woman, when she meets Figure Four, and she's a teenager when she meets Hugo. But it was like with Hugo, it was like an instant teenage infatuation type thing. With this one, it's like they can't stand each other. They're fighting, and stuff like that. But eventually they come together. And I think that would be hilarious, to see how they make that transition from somebody that's always combative with each other and to the point where they fall in love with each other. I think that would be just a hilarious storyline, I think.
I agree, and I think to do it justice, they'll have to, unfortunately, do it in the third movie. Although it'd be great to introduce him in the second movie.
Yeah, they could. They need to spend a little bit of time on his backstory too, a little bit, because he has killed 38 cyborgs. You know, so he's a pretty badass guy. It'd also be interesting to see how he lives. He lives in Alhambra, California, and after I guess climate change is rampant in the 26th century, and the water is up to the third floor in most of the high-rise buildings here in Los Angeles. And he's a fisherman, and he's kind of living off the land. And it'd be interesting to see, how he does that, how he survives. And of course, Creek and Den have had this discussion, but Den thinks he's Polynesian. I think he's American Indian myself, but it'd be interesting to see his life, just what he does. So anyway, what do y'all think about that?
Yeah, sorry I gotta run for dinner, but great talking to you guys. Hope you all have a great weekend.
Okay, you too. Do not stand by. We kind of got long-winded here, so sorry about that.
Yeah, no problem. All right,
All right,
see you at the next stream.
You betcha. I'll send you a link.
All right, great. Bye.
All right, bye. So, what your thoughts about Figure Four there, Angelus?
Sorry, I just got back from making a cup of tea. What's up?
Yeah, what were your thoughts on Figure Four?
Whew. The only one that comes to mind is he's such an enigma of a character. He's charismatic, and yet we know so little about him compared to every other character. I'm just, I guess, afraid that they won't have much time if they wanted to try to, unless they did, stretch it out to 2.5 hours as opposed to just 2 hours and a bit.
Or they made 3 or 4 movies.
Yeah, so unless they expanded the runtime or made more movies,
Yeah.
then yeah. I mean, let's just. I mean, no, not even just hope. We know that it's going to happen. It's just a matter of when. But still, it just goes back to what you said earlier. There's just so much content for them to draw from. It's like you really just want to bash them over the head with a rubber bat.
Yeah. Hybrid says he's a dentist that doesn't recommend toothpaste. I don't know, Hybrid. I'm not sure I'd want him to work on my teeth, although it looks like he's got some good teeth there on the right, doesn't it? So
But yeah, aside from the fact that, like I said, even though I do say that he's an enigma, he's probably the one character that we definitely need to see the most above any of the others that we haven't seen yet. More than Den, more than Chaos. He's like quite literally the fan favorite out of the characters that haven't been shown in the movie yet. Or at least I truly believe that he's the highest fan favorite. There's always going to be other people that really like Chaos, and there's nothing wrong with that. Same with Den, because Den's just like a gigantic cyborg centaur.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's right.
But I mean, like I said, Figure 4 is, in my humble personal opinion, the most beloved that haven't been seen. So we have to see him, and he has to have some impact, and he has to have some character development. I mean, they somehow managed to do that with Nova in the few minutes of screen time that he had.
Yeah.
Probably in like no small feat of Norton's talent, but still, I mean, if they can do that, then surely they can do it with Figure 4.
You'd hope. And I tell you this, Cran and Rotten would want this one. Yeah. Yeah, AR6 is who this is, Alita Replicant 6, or Zex, and he's the only Alita Replicant that says, nope, I'm not a female, I'm a male. So anyway, he's a pretty badass fighter. He fought Zeka to a draw, I guess, and he's pretty tough, and I think if we got a Zot, then I think that would have to be in a third or possibly fourth movie, because they're not going to have enough time to develop this, unless they do it in a series and they have a multi-year type thing going on with X number of episodes, maybe. But yeah, they're not going to be able to squeeze Zex into a sequel, into the second movie. That's not going to happen, because it's just too much between the time Alita loses Hugo until she meets Zex. Now, one thing that does happen is that Zex does meet Figure 4 in the manga, but it's a very brief thing. He's gone after that, And is he the one that cut off Figure 4's arm, Angelus? I can't remember.
Yes.
Yeah. And Figure 4 got a cyborg arm after that, so
because I believe Figure was looking for a leader, found Sex, shit hit the fan, and obviously Sex won. So
yeah, because Figure 4, Figure 4 thought, well, I'm not going to let this guy kill Alita, because I think it was an AR4 or something like that he killed, and Figure 4 thought that was Alita, but it wasn't. It was one of the replicants, and but it still made Figure 4 mad. So he and Zex fought, and Zex basically beat his butt, and then he cut his arm off. So, and then he said, well, I don't need to spend any more time on you, and he left, So, but you got to know Zex is pretty badass, because at that point, Figure 4 had killed 37 cyborgs, so he's bad himself, and Zex beat him. So, you know. But the question is, do we want the Zot? And the Creek does. The Creek definitely wants the Zenith of Things tournament, you know, because I want to see it. It's kind of like it'd be like watching the motorball thing, you know. But once again, that's not going to happen in a sequel. But if they make a bunch of movies, it would probably be the fifth movie or something like that, you know, because it's just too much
Does
story, you know.
doesn't necessarily have to happen in the same order, but there's no reason
Yeah,
why they can't do a Star Wars and continue on, because I also believe that this trilogy would probably end on the like the battle between um, Nova and Alita, and then from there, that's when we get to see, you know, like, yes, Den and Chaos and that would have cameos in some way, shape, or form. But
yeah,
beyond that, that's when we'll probably see more of the Wars, more of the Badlands, uh, or the battles that happen out in the Badlands, or something
yeah,
like that, because it's just purely based on the way that they've condensed it, just going off the first movie. That's all we really have to go by. But regardless of how often and how much we speculate, and this is a healthy thing,
yeah.
like whether we disagree or not, like I'd be surprised if we didn't, because that just implies that the realm of possibility is just that much wider. But
Mhm.
I mean, like, yeah, we just need a sequel. Fucking hell,
Yeah,
Disney,
come
get
on,
your
Disney, give us a
shit
sequel.
together.
That's
Ah,
that's that sword he's got. That's called a Titan blade, isn't it?
I believe so.
Yeah,
I'd have to Google it to confirm, but yeah.
yeah, something like that. So
Uh, but as for my input, definitely a cameo of some sort. I mean, they sort of like, we couldn't really make out any details beyond the fact that they looked the same. But when they were doing that zero-G training, all the other, the trainees in the background, they pretty much looked like the leader. And if
mhm.
that isn't a foreshadowing of the AI units, I don't know what is.
Yeah,
And the fact that, and considering that this character is like 30 plus years old, because
yeah.
Kishiro would have written him way back when, again, it just
Well,
ticks all the boxes without.
he's like 30 years old, but I think in the manga he told Zeka he was 2 years old, didn't he?
Oh no, I'm just like talking about the character, like he was like written
Oh
in
yeah, yeah, you're right.
like
Yeah,
30
that's
years
right.
ago. And
Yeah,
like I said, again, he ticks all the boxes without even having to do anything. I mean,
yeah,
I doubt that it was even afterthought in Kishiro's mind when he wrote Sex. He just thought, oh,
mhm,
that's pretty cool. I mean, like, we've got 12 AI units that's an exact copy of a leader. What if I made one of them that was completely different? What if I made one of them a guy and that wanted to, like, kill the original leader, like Highlander? Because we know that Kishiro was very much influenced by Western movies and what appeared to be, in particular, Western sci-fi movies, RoboCop,
yeah,
Terminator,
yeah.
like,
Yep, yep, yep.
etc., etc., etc. And who's to say that Highlander wouldn't be one of them? And he could take in that aspect of
Yeah,
sex. In fact, that very trope, if you will, is exactly that. It's a trope. It's just that Highlander played upon it more so than any other movie. But you know, sex wanted sex wanted to be the only one, or the superior unit, and in his mind, the only way to prove that to himself as well as to the world at the same time is by destroying all the other units.
mhm.
So, but yeah, definitely a cameo in some way, shape, or form. You just simply can't have, like, I'd say he's almost as important, perhaps even more so in some aspects, than having the other counselors introduced. In fact, I'd probably put him below Gelder in that level of importance.
Okay.
And that's saying something. I'd put him above the bunnies. Sorry, guys. I know.
Yeah, 11 and 12. Huh?
Next, we're talking about.
Yeah. Well, I know Cran and Rotten really like him, and they think he's great. But I'll tell you, if Alita's in her any of her Imaginos bodies, and she fights him, and he's in that Viceroy body, he ain't gonna last. He's gonna get his butt whipped easily. Particularly if she's in that Imaginos 2.1 body, he has no chance. Even though, but one thing I do like about him is even when she was in that Imaginos 2.0 body, he still wanted to say, after this zot's over, you and I are going to have it out. Alita just says, okay, because she knows what's going to happen, So, but the thing about him is he's just a warrior, he just wants to, he wants to fight, so that's, Yeah, I think we won't see him unless we have 4 or 5 movies, or they have like an extended several series rather. Then we might see him in full. Now, yeah, he might have a cameo or something like that, but I don't think we'll see him to any great degree unless we have several movies.
Yep.
Okay, so that one of the things I did say early on that we were going to talk about some of the storylines. I want to save that till next week for the fan cast, I think. So we basically want to talk about these characters, and then we'll go to wrap up, I guess. And yes, I've got some characters that are not up there as we've been discussing here. But certainly we would definitely want to see Adjicutty, because he is going to be on Alita's team. Him and Crimson Wind and Screwhead are going to be on Alita's team when they challenge Joshigan's team. So Adjicutty's got to be in there. Now, Adjicutty was in the movie. He was certainly in the motorball match, but he was also in the Kansas bar. He was one of the guys that was in there. Now, he didn't get in the fight because he's a professional and he's not going to get involved with a bunch of idiots fighting, because their feelings were hurt, So he's more professional than that. But I think he's a pretty good character, and he's certainly, I think he probably is a good fighter, because you have to be in the Motorball Champions League, So I think we definitely got to see him. We would see him in a sequel, I think.
The only thing I'd say about Adjicutty, and this is outside of the fact that I know the actor that plays him, is that whether it's because he feels a sense of justice or whatever, or he just wants to get back at Jashigan because at the time he's still the current, the top contender to be final champion.
Mm-hmm.
So worst case scenario, I see him as using Alita as a means to an end to take down Jashigan, and then maybe hoping that Alita, in a weakened state, he can take her down at the same time, and
yeah, good luck with
claim the winner's throne. Yeah, exactly.
yeah, I don't know how far that'll fly.
But yeah, that's all I've got to say about that. I doubt he'd have much of a cameo beyond any of the others, but yeah, like between him, Clive Lee, McTeague, they're Screwhead, they're probably one of the few supporting characters that I'd want to see more of.
Yeah. Now, I'm not going to go over each one of these because we could spend an hour or 30 minutes on each one. But certainly, probably in the Badlands arc, we'd probably see Den and Chaos, because they're kind of like the same character, at least. I think Chaos's consciousness somehow gets in Den or something like that. I can't remember now. It's been so long since I've read, but Hybrid Gearhead's one of them that I'm going to make a note of here when we get down at the bottom there. I'd like to see her, because she's going to have to help Dr. Ito, repair Alita several times after she's playing motorball. That's what I think. But anyway, yeah, we'll see her, I think. Erica, I'm not so sure about. Maybe. But once again, seeing her, it would require probably a fourth or fifth movie, kind of like Zex. I just don't see. I mean, there's just so much story. Now, if they did a Mars Chronicle series, certainly there would be she would be in that for sure. But her and Alita would both be, except for that second volume, her and Alita would both be little girls, so they wouldn't be like they are in that second volume, where they're both young women and they fight each other, which would be cool, I think. Karula and Victor are both vampires, and I don't know if we'll see them. I think Disney might shy away from any kind of vampire type thing in this, but they may have two characters named this that have a little that are different. That they cast them some other way. Zazie would also be like, say, Erica and Zex and all. Zazie was a munitions and a firearms expert, and she's the one that beat Rakan, I guess. But that would, once again, there's a lot of story, between Alita after she loses Hugo to the time she kind of gets reunited with Zazie to fight in the Zot. So I just think there's just we'd need several movies, which I'm hoping we get. And the same would be true of Zeka. Zeka, Rakan, and Toji all fought Alita, Zazie, and Zex in the Zot. So once again, the Zot is going to be something that would be in maybe a fifth movie or something like that. Just a lot of story to cover before you get there. So some of the others, I guess that we haven't seen because the Creek didn't particularly forgot to list them. But of course, there would be Crimson Wind. We probably would see Crimson Wind in a sequel because once again, she would be on Alita's team when they challenged Joshigon. Gelda, we probably would see Gelda also as part of flashbacks or something like that, where she would, basically be a kind of like in a training type thing or something like that. Now we would see Gelda in a series, I think that's possible, maybe like a Alita Battle Angel prequel series that might be pretty heavily keyed on the Mars Chronicles. I think we probably would see Gelda in that one. And one that we haven't even talked about that the Creek was stupid for not putting in there would be Nova. Absolutely, we're going to see him. We would see him in just about everything they would want to put him in. We'll definitely see him in the sequel. Shamira is Joshigon's sister, and I think we probably would see her in the sequel too. Because Shamira basically is taking care of Joshigon, and lives with Joshigon as his sister. So, and I mentioned Gerhard, and of course another one was Sarah. We talked about her a little bit being Zapan's woman, and of course Zapan goes off the rails and accidentally kills her because he has some kind of mental image looking thing. He sees Sarah and thinks it's Alita, and he kills her. So it didn't do himself any favors there. If we see Hugo, it'll be only as a remembrance thing, Alita remembering him, a flashback type situation. I don't think we'll see him in a sequel, not as a regular character. Now, I think we might see him in a sequel where she remembers him prior to him dying, maybe another little scene or something like that training scene. I know it's on Raul's YouTube channel, but he's got a scene where it's right out of the novelization where they're training. There's a couple of scenes, deleted scenes where Alita actually skates around, and first of all, before she skates around, Hugo takes she was in her doll body when she was doing this, but Hugo takes her feet off and puts wheel feet on her, kind of like Ito did, in the locker room. And they had that scene, and then of course she skates around on him, and she tells Hugo to hit her with his 2x4 or something like that. And he goes to try to hit her, and she puts her arm up, breaks the 2x4 in half, and jumps on top of him like she's going to hit him because she's trying to remember who she is, and the only way to do it is to be threatened. And he's laying on his back, and she looks like she's ready to smack him, and he says, "Did you get anything?" And she said no. So anyway, I guess he was saved by that. So there's just so many, and there's others like Queen Limera is another one. Who was that damn cowboy that was on Mars with him? I can't remember his name now. Angelus, do you remember his name on the Mars Chronicles?
Not off the top of my head, no.
Yeah, big cowboy hat. I mean, there's just so many characters. They're just not going to be able to get them all in a sequel or it. Now, if they want to carry this out many, many years, then yeah, they could work them all in, But yeah, it's just it's just like the material they have. There's just so much, to choose from that it's going to be very, very difficult for them to do this. So. Anyway, that's what I got on characters. Can you think of any more characters that maybe would be possible in a sequel there, Angelus?
Not the oh yeah, sorry, my bad. It's okay that you didn't include Nova, because obviously he's already been cast, he's already been seen. We just need to see more of him, and that's it.
Yeah.
But perhaps as like a bit of the final boss battle in the third movie, and I'd use that trope lightly, is he could become Supernova.
Yeah. Okay.
And, and have the manga reference that way as well. I mean, yes, he's from an arc that is quite close to the Zot tournament, but I mean, who's to say that Nova or Supernova does die in that battle, and who's to say that he doesn't lose that power, and whoever, if they do expand beyond the trilogy, whoever they get to play as Embody sort of sees that technology and takes it for himself.
Yeah, Embody, I forgot about him too. Yeah, he'd be another good one. Although once again, we wouldn't see him until the fifth movie. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's kind of the latter part of the Last Order. So, okay, so I think we came close to hitting most of the characters. Although there is so many characters in this whole storyline of all 38 volumes or whatever it is. There's just no way you could,
because of what you said, because there's so much content to adapt.
Yeah.
It's like an untapped gold mine of cinema, and it truly is the start. As my final thoughts, if you want to call it that, it truly is like the stars aligned when God himself decided that James Cameron is going to produce this movie, sort of thing, That Rodriguez would direct it and make it into what it is.
Yeah.
And everyone just, like I said, the stars aligned and everyone came together in their respective roles. Rosa was destined to play Alita, etc. And, it's based on that faith alone. And yes, it is faith, but hope, faith, love, that's the kind of thing that keeps us going, and that will need to keep going to continue to fight for a sequel.
Yeah. Well, we've seen, like we said a while ago, that Rosa wants a sequel. She says she harasses them every day, and James Cameron says, I am so down, and he meant so down with getting a sequel, and Robert Rodriguez is wanting to pitch a series, So with so many things going for us like that, I think at the very least we're going to see a series first, probably, and then we'll probably see the sequel. That's kind of what I think, but I have no inside information. I have no clue. I'm just a avid fan, just like the rest of us are, So, uh, yeah, that's right, Hybrid. Cameron did wait 14 years to film Alita. That is no doubt about it, and he finally got it when he got the technology there and, got everything lined up. Then that's basically what happened. He basically put it together when the time was right, I guess. Okay, so I guess did we miss anything there? Now, I did promise we'd talk about what storylines we'd want to see, but we'd be here another 2 hours. So, so we're going to save that for the fan cast next week. That'll be our topic where you folks in the chat are going to drive the discussion, and tell us who you want to play these various characters. And I won't pick near as many characters. We'll just pick the characters that we know we want to see that is practical to be in the sequel. We won't. I mean, certainly, I guess Cran would be disappointed if we didn't put Zex in there. So I might put Zex in there. I don't know. But anyway, yeah.
Now, just a couple of, I guess, not really a couple, but only like a few rules at best. Mm-hmm. One, you can fan cast existing characters, especially if they didn't play that much of a big of a role. Like, mm-hmm. Name any one of the motorballers, name any one of the bounty hunters, like outside of Japan, mm-hmm. and Ito, and obviously technically Alita. In fact, I think the only
and Screwhead. You can't do Screwhead either. Screwhead, we want L to do Screwhead again.
In fact, I think the only guaranteed off-limits character would be Alita.
Yeah.
Because I mean, we're all aware of the other actresses that could have played her, but I mean, like hindsight can be a boon or a bane at times. Yeah. Just depends on the situation. But in this case, I truly believe it's a boon because even after seeing the movie, I just can't imagine anyone else playing Alita. It's just
no.
I mean, they've got the skills, no doubt about it, but
yeah, Zendaya.
I don't feel that they don't have the heart for it.
Well, I think Zendaya would have done great. I think she'd have been a good Alita, but I don't see her
closest.
Yeah, closest to doing what maybe what Rosa did, but I don't see anybody topping Rosa. I mean, God Almighty. I mean, anybody can make Robert Rodriguez cry at an audition. She's got the goods, man. That's what it is, So, so that's what we're going to do next week. We're going to have you guys in the chat are going to drive the discussion. We'll put the character up there. We'll talk about who you want, and you just start putting it in the chat. And then we'll come back to those storylines that we want to see, in a sequel, or maybe a third movie, because the Creek wants really a trilogy is what he wants. But we'll go with that. But just to wrap things up, as you can see, Alita loves her Uncle Creek. So anyway, and that's because I'm trying to get her a sequel. So there you go. So no problem there for her on that one, I guess. This is our queen right here.
Can you send me that photo?
Yes, I can do that, Angelus.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I don't think I have that one. Sorry.
Yeah, I'll send it to you. But anyway, I think it popped up. I just, when I see a photo, because I want to do it for the streams, I download it, so or I see a piece of artwork I can use on the video, I'll kind of pop it in, download it, So anyway, as we know, as an actor, Rosa's number one, man, in our books. She is Alita. And once again, she's a great actor, but it doesn't hurt that she's pretty too. So, that's a neat thing, And of course, we think Alita's pretty. So, I mean, it all works out for us. Okay, I guess, are you going to be on Radio Chaos tomorrow there, Angelus? Or you got to work?
Negative, but it's the last shift before I get like 6 week rotation. Before I get 6 weeks where I can host / co-host.
Yeah.
That's why because of the rotation. That's why today I'm able to come on, but tomorrow I won't be because the 4 days on, 4 days off. Inevitably, those 4 days get like jump ahead a day and a day and a day. So there's another reason why I say I can still be on there for 6 weeks is because it's 2 days and 2 nights. So during those 2 nights, I can still stay awake, come on and co-host, just probably not be able to host in any large capacity.
And stay awake, right?
And stay awake.
Yeah.
Whereas if I'm on a day shift during those weekends, obviously I'm physically at work and I can't be online except in live chat, which I quite often am. So like I said, tomorrow is my last day shift on a Sunday before I get days off again.
Cool.
And it's just.
Well, tomorrow we're going to go through another manga read, and we were going to do this last week. Of course, then we booked Elle, and that was boy, that really worked out for us. I mean, Elle was a delight to talk to. She was she's funny and. Gave us some good data, to think about it in terms of a sequel and, kind of behind the scenes in the movie. It was just really great talking to her, and, but tomorrow's going to be a pretty good stream because we're going to go back over and I think these 2 chapters are pretty short. And I think that's why Maxie kind of did 2 here on this one, as opposed to that one chapter we did here a couple of months ago that was 69 pages or something like this. So this one does. These 2 are not near that long. So anyway, join us on that. Certainly, I will be there, but I will not be the stream manager tomorrow. Star Bellion will be the stream manager, and he does a great job on that one. So okay. Why is this image here? Well, we know why, because the Creek likes it and he's running the stream. And to paraphrase Gawishka, I'm only here for our girl and the Alita Army. As a matter of fact, we're all here for the Alita Army. So that's, and for our girl, Alita. So anyway, we want that sequel, Disney. You hear us? I know Angelus has only said that 5 times on the stream, and the Creek has always said, yes, we do. So anyway, that's the way it works. We want that sequel. So
amen.
Okay, so I guess that's pretty much it for the stream. And our call to action, I guess Angelus and I are the only 2 here, but we'll still go through it because we do want that sequel. So anyway, on my count of 3, Angelus, 1, 2, 3.
Film those sequels,
baby. And we will see you next week, and we'll see you tomorrow on Radio Chaos.